A special guest for you, and I'm going to be interviewing Stephen Hockman, who is the author of Affiliate Content Secrets. And I know the word secrets gets thrown around a lot in this industry, but I've read the book, and there are actual secrets in the book I've never heard before. So we're going to be sharing, or Stephen is going to be sharing some of those secrets and talking about copywriting in affiliate marketing. So, Stephen, welcome.
Hey,
How are you?
doing good.
Good. Um, so tell us, why did you write the book? What brought you to writing the book, and how did it get started?
Okay, so I'll just do a quick plug. So this book I wrote, Affiliate Content Secrets, basically inside I teach you some tips and strategies on how to maximize your earnings in affiliate marketing. And the reason I wrote the book was because I kind of felt like there was this gap between in knowledge for people that were in affiliate marketing, where when you go on the forums and you're in Facebook groups, et cetera, people always talk about the technical aspects of, how to rank a site and how to do better in the search engines. But people aren't really talking about like, what do you do once the people get on your page? How do you convert those people into actual buyers and get them to click on the links and buy the stuff you're promoting? And so it's something that I've just been fascinated with and been dabbling with for like the last 10 plus years. And so I finally decided this year, kind of after the whole, um, basically when the whole Amazon thing happened where they cut commission rates, I thought, hey, this might be a good time for me to like share this knowledge because people are panicking about losing so much money. And, what you can do is there's probably a lot of money that you could have, earned, in addition to those on through your pages that you may not even know of. So it's just a way to be like, hey, let's try to like squeeze out as much profit as we can if a lot of people are suffering from those drops in commissions. So that's kind of what spurred it. And then I took the next couple months to basically just, data dump all the knowledge I've had into this book.
Cool. So first of all, like, what is copywriting and why should affiliates learn it?
So yeah, so copywriting is much different than what's called content writing. And content writing is basically like the normal stuff that people do on affiliate sites, which is you go in and you write these product reviews and you're basically just writing about the different features and specs of things. But copywriting is actually like a persuasive way of writing. So you're able to talk about those features and aspects of things, but you're actually persuading people to want to buy something because of that feature. So copywriting is basically salesmanship in words that you put on the page to make people want to buy the stuff that you're promoting.
So basically, if you include copywriting, people will buy more stuff.
Yeah, essentially, because if you're just doing content writing, you're just going to like a page that's just like, hey, here's the five different things about this refrigerator, for example, and it's like, well, why do those even matter to me? Why do I care if it's 26 cubic feet versus 30 cubic feet? As a consumer, you may not know those things. So you're looking for someone to educate you. And so through copywriting, you can actually say, hey, the reason this is important is because of X, Y, Z. And actually, you're not going to find this anywhere else, online. So you need to check this product out right now, type of thing.
And like, in your opinion, how much does it really matter? Like, what kind of results have you been seeing once you started incorporating copywriting into your articles?
Yeah, so in my book, I give a couple examples. One that was pretty cool was what actually kind of spurred me on this whole journey to learning copywriting was actually, I used to have this website when I first started out, and I was ranking number one for a couple terms that were high traffic buying keywords. But I made $0. So I had the number one top spot, but I didn't make any money from the page. And I was like, this is ridiculous. Like maybe affiliate marketing is a waste of time. I'm like, if I can't even make money from it.
Wow.
But long story short, it kind of kickstarted this idea of like, well, maybe I'm doing something wrong on the page. Maybe the page is just horrible. So I started looking into started looking at marketing books and resources and things on like psychology and consumer psychology. And so I started to find out that, oh man, like I'm actually turning people off from the products I'm promoting. And so this one page I had went from basically $0 to about $100 earning each week. And at that point I thought, man, I'm actually onto something. Like this is awesome. And then other things is like recently I created, I actually got a direct offer affiliate relationship with a product I'm promoting. And just by using different copywriting strategies and talking about the product in different ways, I've actually been able to boost the sales of that product. And so just by using the words on the page, you can be like, hey, check this one out. And, you know, if I'm honest, I'm actually getting a higher commission for that product. So I have an incentive to push that product more and make people excited to want to buy it because I'm getting 10% for that product now versus 3% from Amazon.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
And that's a really cool story how you went from like one page had $0 to 100 a week.
Yeah. Yeah. It was
That's
awesome.
that's a huge difference right there.
Yeah, totally, man. And I've also seen things like, you know, just by using copywriting effectively, like you can double or even triple the average page time that people are on your site.
Mm,
Because if you have poor copywriting, you know, people might go to the page and be like, oh, this is kind of boring, or I'm not even engaged. So, you know, you're like a minute or less people are on your site. You can maybe double it to 2 minutes to 3 minutes, et cetera. You know, so that's kind of what copywriting can do for you. You know, it can just get people engaged with your content and be like, hey, this is like a good resource that's talking to me, getting me excited about things, and actually like is speaking the language that I use.
mhm.
And it just makes it more beneficial for the user and your pockets, basically.
Yeah, you mentioned more time on page. So even if you just have ads on your page, that would increase your overall ad revenue too for that page.
Yeah, 100%. So I'm also part of Mediavine, and I know there's
Uh,
other programs out there. But yeah, the more you can keep people on your page, the more ads they can view, and they'll
yeah,
scroll all the way down to the end of the page. So instead of seeing one ad, you might get them to see 8 ads, and so
yeah,
you've essentially just increased your earnings just by keeping people on that page through the words you use. You know,
exactly. And I
yeah.
think you might get more natural backlinks too if your content is more exciting and engaging.
Yeah, 100%. And it's stuff that people will share on social media.
Mm,
People will be like, this is good content worth sharing versus just, oh, it's just an affiliate page made to rank high in Google. And,
yeah,
you're just scraping by with, the few people that click and actually buy something.
very
Which,
good.
which I see, I mean, honestly, I see a lot of that stuff. Like, I'm always checking the SERPs for different
Yeah,
keywords just for fun. And I'm blown away by man, this is like a horribly written site, but this guy's got the top spot. And I'm like, he's doing something crazy with PBNs or something nuts that I don't know about. But I'm like, you're doing a disadvantage to yourself because you're not actually, using the power of copywriting because you could probably explode your growth just by using different words on the page because you've already got the top spot.
yeah. So that brings up an interesting question. Like, why do you think these people in the number one spot are ignoring copywriting when they could double or triple their revenue? Like, why do you think it's ignored?
I think it's ignored because I think a lot of people don't really know about it. It's not a
Yeah.
topic that people are talking about openly. I mean, a lot of the tips that I've learned over the years, nobody's openly discussing. So I think the people that really know are just the advanced marketers that aren't sharing that information because it's easier to just say, hey, I can sell you some backlinks, or oh, you have to do this technical stuff. Like it's just simple. But then also too, I think that maybe people are just trying to churn out these pages and just maybe they have a team. Like,
Mm,
oh, I can crank out 10 new buying guides a week, and we can just like data dump the content, features, aspects, but putting some creativity into the copywriting is just furthest from their mind, and they're just happy with getting,
yeah.
some sales. That's my
It kind
assumption.
of it kind of sounds like a good enough mindset rather than a great mindset.
Yeah, exactly. And when I first started, that was my mindset. It was like, hey, I'm making some money. This is good enough. But then I had this goal where I was like, you know what? I want to become a full-time affiliate marketer, quit my job, and do this 100% of the time. And so I had to think of it more like a business. And I was like, okay, how do I do that? Like, how do I increase the revenue from each page I have on my sites? And so I had to do it, and I had to figure it out. And
Mm,
and so the best way to do that was just through copywriting and conversion rate optimization.
good. And I've kind of had the impression, I'm sure many other people do as well, that there's kind of a conflict between copywriting and SEO. That if you have good copywriting, your SEO will suffer. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's an interesting topic. But I don't think that's the case at all because the way I write a post is I actually go through and I write the posts just by using copywriting techniques. I
Hmm.
don't think about SEO at all. And then once I'm done, then I go back through and I start lacing in the SEO stuff. So essentially, I've got the selling page that's selling people and stuff. And then now I just have to fine tune it with the technical aspects. So I can just plug and play and put those things in, and then it ranks and it banks, basically.
Great. I think another reason too people might ignore copywriting is they might think it's hard. that it requires years of experience to learn or some special skill. How easy is it or hard is it to learn like just the basics of copywriting to see some movement in your sales?
Yeah, so I think it's pretty easy. I mean, honestly, I didn't have a writing background. I mean, to be honest, I was actually a video editor, and my whole college career was just, how to put video clips together. And I barely had any writing classes. So when I started, I was a horrible writer. Um, but it's just something like any muscle, you got to train it. And so I think that, there's a lot of simple things that you can do that you can get some quick wins. And I talk a lot about that in my book. And so if you just make some small adjustments throughout your page, you can actually start to see some improvements. So don't feel like, oh, I have to be like this amazing writer. I have to focus on writing 100% of the time or like take a course, because you really don't have to do that.
Mm-hmm. So you obviously talk about a lot of these quick wins in your book. What are some what's the first thing someone should do when they sit down and they start writing a blank page, a new page?
Yeah. So the first thing is you should think about what's called a target buyer persona. So don't just sit down and just crank out a page and be like, I'm done with it. You actually should think about who is the target person who's going to see this page. And so in the book, I gave an example of like a page on video baby monitors. And it's like, okay, who's going to buy that? Men, women, old, young, lots of people buy them, but there's a real kind of narrow target that's probably going to buy those the most, which is probably, a female that's maybe 24 to 34, who has certain characteristics about her. And so when you write your page, you should write it so it's targeting that type of person, because that's going to be probably 80% of your traffic. So if you don't use the words that they use or make them feel comfortable, they'll probably just leave the page.
And how do you find those words? Like, do you have to go and join Facebook groups or do some research to find out what kind of language your audience is using?
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of that for me is instinctual. Just I can kind of put myself in those people's shoes, but you can easily, like for that example, you can easily just look up, go to like a some type of baby forum for moms, and you can just see the language they're using immediately.
Yeah.
Like I was on one once, and everybody kept using this thing LO, and I was like, what is LO?
Yeah.
My LO, and I was like, so I looked up, it's called a little one. So that's what they would call their baby. And so if you're on your page and say, oh my, this is the best one for your LO, people will be like, oh, I know what that means. And he knows my language, and he knows he's speaking to me because he knows the terminology, that we're using as women.
That's a good example. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you mentioned you're targeting females, 25 to 35 or whatever. Like, can you use Google Analytics to find some of that data about who your visitors are?
Yeah, sure. I mean, you can go through and just look at the different age groups for that stuff too. But I guess it just depends on what you're trying to target, because, if you don't have a page currently like that, then you wouldn't know what to target in that way.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Cool. So after you have that buyer persona, do you just start writing from top to bottom, or do you piece things together? Like, what's the next step in your process?
Okay, so the next step is got to target buyer persona, and then I actually go through and try to create an outline of what I'm going to write for the page. And so I do that, try to figure out what the H2s are going to be, the H3s, and I outline it that way. And then I start plugging in the different text to go through those different sections of the page. But then also you have to do research. So look at what the competitors are that are ranking for the keyword you're trying to target, and use those as your initial inspiration, because Google is basically telling you, hey, these are the pages and how they're structured that I want to rank for this keyword. So basically see what your competitors are doing and just combine them and do a better job of it.
Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where the SEO comes in, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. So one thing I thought was interesting is when you're writing introductions, you typically save that for last.
Yeah, so I make a recommendation that, you should write your introduction last, because, you might get into writing the post and you might learn some things through your research and be like, oh, maybe I should add this, maybe I shouldn't add that. And if you write the introduction first, you may forget those things. So what I do is I write the whole post, and then I go back, I write the intro, and I write the conclusion, so that I can think of the best way to hook somebody into that content.
Yeah, and the introduction is probably one of the most important parts, both for copywriting and SEO, right?
Yeah, totally. So the introduction is going to hook your reader in to actually get them to want to read the page. If it's boring and lackluster and it doesn't push them to read down the page, then they'll probably bounce. And also, you can insert your target keywords in those locations so that you can signal to Google, hey, this is what the page is about. So it's going to do benefit for both your readers and for rankings.
So one thing I've struggled with is trying to write good introductions. A lot of introductions I read are like kind of boring.
Uh-huh.
How do you make an introduction exciting and really hook them in to reading further down the page?
Yeah, so there's a couple ways you can do that. My favorite one is I ask questions, but I ask a question that someone's actively thinking about. So, let's say someone's looking for a cordless lawnmower. I might just start it out with, hey, are you looking for the best cordless lawnmower for a small lawn? Or, are you on the hunt for a powerful yard cutting machine that'll save you time and money? And of course, they're going to say yes. And so I ask a question like that, and it's like, yeah, that's why I'm here. So you're immediately like showing that target visitor that, yeah, that's what I want. That's what I want. And so I'm going to keep reading. Another thing you can do is you can present some type of shocking statement, something like that, or maybe a statistic where it's like, hey, did you know that 17% of XYZ did this? Something shocking where it's like, wow, I didn't know that. And then you kind of push them down the page where it's like, I want to find out more because that was kind of interesting. And another thing you do is just kind of start with an anecdote. You can just start telling a story because people are fascinated by stories. So if you just start telling a story and kind of lead them through, people will always want to know the ending to a story. So those are kind of three ways that you could start to hook your reader into the content.
And is there a way you pick, or you just pick one that fits the best for your article?
Yeah, you can just pick the one you find best, or I kind of stick to the asking question one or the shocking statement. I don't do a ton of antidotes. So yeah, just the one that you think seems best for that content.
So I think shocking statements are good. I've actually started incorporating this into my own pages after I've read your book.
Mm-hmm.
What are some good ways where you can find these shocking statements? Because I assume you just don't make them up, right?
Yeah, I just Google them. I mean, I think if you're selling kitchen gadgets or something, like look up food facts or interesting food facts.
Yeah.
Something like that. Just put interesting and then your something genre, or
Surprising food facts.
yeah, surprising food facts. Yeah, and you'll find a ton of them.
That's a really good way. So that's something someone can follow to write a really good introduction really easily.
Yeah, totally. And let me mention one other thing, which is actually with introductions. You can actually use this thing, which I talk about in the book called open loops.
Yeah.
And what that means is you basically you make a statement that pushes the person to want to read more. And so what you do is you basically say like for example, let me go back to the lawnmower. Like I'd say, hey, are you looking for the best cordless lawnmower on a budget? Well, my number one top pick is under $100. You got to see it. And it's like, oh, okay. Well, for me to get to see what that is, I have to scroll down the page.
Right.
Or you could say, hey, are you looking for the best space heater for an apartment? Two of my picks below, I don't know, or under $50 or whatever, something like that. So you're just kind of alluding to it. Or you could say something like, oh, my top one has this feature, more on that later. Or, you're just kind of creating this open loop. And it's like, well, I need to find out the answer to that. So I have to scroll down the page so I find it, is essentially
Right.
what's happening to close that loop, basically.
Very good. Yeah, it's like a little teaser, and they just got to know the answer to it.
Yeah, and when you learn that tip, you start seeing it everywhere. I mean, a lot of people are starting to use that type of thing where it's like more on that later, or I'll get to that in a bit. That's something a lot of people do on YouTube videos. So when you're watching YouTube videos from like pro YouTubers, they'll say that. They'll say, "Hey, I'll get to that tip in just a second," and you're like, "Oh, I got to watch the rest of the video to get to that."
Yeah. Or wait till the end for a special surprise or something.
Yeah, if you stick to the end, you're going to get a bonus feature, and it's like, well, I got to stick to the end now. Like same concept applies for your affiliate marketing pages.
Very good. And one thing I mentioned in my group is authority keywords. And when I read that in your book, I had to stop reading because my mind was boom.
Oh yeah, nice.
So everyone in my group is dying to know. So Are you willing to talk about authority keywords?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I'll talk
So,
about it.
so explain what authority keywords are and why they're so important.
Yeah, so when I'm talking about authority keywords, I'm talking about what's called, I call them expert keywords, expert words. And basically, I kind of explained this backstory of how I discovered them, which was I had these pages that basically tanked, they were number one for keywords, and then they went to page two or three. And I was doing all these different things to try to fix it. And I couldn't figure out how to like rank again until I finally stumbled across this thing, which was a pattern I found on all these other top ranking sites, which were they were using expert words. And expert words are words like proven, um, data, measurements, research, lab, different things like that. So I would see things like good housekeeping or consumer reports or the Wirecutter. In the introduction of the page, it would say, after 8 hours of research in our lab, we discovered through our tests that XYZ was blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, they just used some interesting words. And I go to the next page I was ranking. They did the same thing and the same thing and the same thing. And I was like, oh man, I don't use those words. I'm not exuding like I'm an expert on this thing. I'm not using those words that just like say, hey, he's an expert in this field. He's using those types of terminology. And so when I added those to my page, I actually saw rank boosts. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like it was just this one thing. It was just under my nose and I never even knew it. So yeah, inside the book, oops, sorry about that. Yeah, inside the book, I've got other examples of those, and I'll just give you a couple real fast. Like,
Yeah.
um, just to list them off, like if you can include words like test, research lab, results, data claim, measure, certified, certification, proven, trustworthy, expert, or professional. If you can just throw those words into your content, then you're going to see one, possibly a ranking boost, and two, you're just going to make the visitor feel more confident that you're a trustworthy source. And so when you're throwing words like that around, like, oh, in our tests or through our research, we measured this and, XYZ, they're going to think, oh, this is a trusted, credible source that I should believe.
Yeah, that's very good. So you found this through your own research about analyzing all these top pages and looking at the language of them.
Yeah. And if you do it, I mean, if you see like Business Insider and Good Housekeeping and NY Times, I mean, you're going to see it. Just do a Google search. I mean, go to the page and search for words like that, and you're going to see them pop up.
Yeah. Have you heard this secret before? I'm
I've
really
never,
surprised. I've never even heard about this before.
yeah, I've never heard it. I've never disclosed it. This was like, I was like, should I even include this in the book? This is one of my best kept like secrets I discovered. And I was like, just do it, just let people know. Because clearly the people that are ranking number one, these big brands, they know it.
Yeah.
They're just, nobody's sharing it. So, you know.
Sometimes I do read affiliate pages and they talk about how they've spent 100 hours testing 18 food dehydrators or whatever. And they have a bunch of stock photos and you can kind of tell like they didn't really review them.
Yeah.
So is there a balance between using the keywords and not overdoing it?
Yeah, I think when you're doing something like that, if you don't actually have your own pictures and your own hands-on experience with that item, which, I mean, if we're honest, a lot of affiliates don't. They're just, doing their research online.
Yeah.
Then I would probably, to be ethical, I would omit, hey, in our test lab. But if you can find a way to get the real photos, you can throw those in. But yeah, I definitely think there's a balance, and you don't have to use them all. Just you can use ones like, for example, I have a site where I'm like, hey, I'm the expert on this field. So I say, hey, the XYZ experts looked at these 15 different things, and our research indicates that you're going to find the best deal on this. And so I used expert research, and these are proven methods that we used. So I'm just lacing those words in, and they're 100% true.
Yeah, that's a natural way to do it. That's honest.
Yeah.
So very good. So if I already have an existing website and it's ranking high, like what's the first thing I should do? Like I've already written the page. I'm not starting from scratch.
Yeah. So if you have a decent site making decent money a page, basically what I would do is I would look at the average time on page, and if it's decent, then your intro is probably good and you're probably leading people to the reviews. If not, I would try to improve on that by improving the introduction and maybe creating more open loops. I would then look at the sales data, or your top products that you're promoting, are they converting the best? You may have 10 products on the page and you find out that, hey, the bottom 3 are the ones that make the most money. I should move those to the top and maybe start focusing on those higher. And that actually, there's another trick in the book I talk about called picking your 3 all-star products. And I won't go too in depth in that, but essentially when you look at your sales data, at least mine, you find that people usually just buy the same few things, no matter how many you recommend on the page. There's just going to be ones that just sell themselves the most, regardless of your copywriting. And so those are the ones you really want to promote and push as your number 1 through 3 on the page. And then you can also look, hey, am I using power words and expert words throughout the page? If not, can I add those in to create more clicks? Can you swap out higher price products for lower price? Swap out lower price products for higher price products. And then let's say that you have like an informational only post with like affiliate links only. Like this isn't a buying guide. It's just like a info post and I lace links throughout. You can look and see, am I using words to actually entice people to click on those links? Or am I just hyperlinking, a product name in the sentence? Like you want to actually encourage people to click on those things. So those are some things you can do to try to get some quick wins.
Besides looking at your affiliate data and see what is selling the most, are there any tools that you're using to like A/B or split test changes on your website?
Yeah, so a free one that I like to use is just Google Optimize. There was a WordPress plugin I was using once, but it started to slow down the site, so I stopped using that. But I'm just using free tools like that. There's a ton of them out there. You can pay for a service if you want. Yeah. You don't have to.
I've used Google Optimize too to split test the wording of my actual links. And I actually came to the same conclusion about what your link should say. What was it? Amazon price converts the best?
I'd check price.
I'll check price. Yeah. I found that, shorter is typically a little bit better than like a big long sentence or something.
Yeah. And so that's something you can test too. In my experience, check price for your call to action button has been the best. But, you can just try it on yours. It just depends. There's one I'm testing now, which actually is check price and reviews. I'm trying that versus check price versus see Amazon, reviews or see Amazon's price. You can just split test those. That's a simple one, and sometimes you'll see no change. Sometimes you'll see a dramatic change, and you won't know until you do the test.
Yeah. Cool. So we talked about a lot of tactics and strategies. What would you say are like the 3 most important copywriting tips for affiliate marketers?
The most important, I would say the best ones would be you want to talk directly to your audience. So if you're not using words like you or your on the page, and actually saying to somebody, hey, this would be your best choice, or you want to look for this, or, are you in this predicament, whatever, and you're looking for this. If you're not using those, then you need to immediately start adding those in, because if you're not talking to your audience, then they're not going to get sucked in through the language. But at the same time, one of my tips in the book is you actually want to act like an authority, and you want to use the word I. Like, hey, I did this. I did the research. I've had this experience. It's like, okay, I can trust this guy. He's actually done this stuff. But at the same time, you got to throw in you and your to relate with that person. Some other copywriting things you can do is add the expert words we talked about. Another good thing you can do. So are we talking about just like tips to rank, or do you just want to do just with writing? Just before I continue.
Either or.
Okay. So another tip you can do is actually I mentioned in the book is this concept called fluency, frequency, and exposure. And so when you're writing your content, what you find is like, actually, this is something that happens to everybody. Like, pretend you're in a store and you go to like the pasta sauce aisle, and there's like 100 different pasta sauces, and you're like, what do I do here? Like, I don't know about pasta sauce. Which one should I pick? So lots of times people have these different things that make them choose one. So I bring that up because in your writing, what you can do is you can actually tap into the psychology of fluency, frequency, and exposure, where you can actually repeat a product's name or the image throughout the page, and you can essentially make people want to buy that product just because they're exposed to it more.
Mm,
And so that was another like tip I've discovered from reading psychology books, was
yeah.
blown away. Like, oh man, so I started doing that in my content, where at the top of the page you're going to see the number one product I want you to buy is like the intro image. And then you're going to see it as a review, and then you're going to see it laced throughout the rest of the page. And I also repeat the name of that product throughout the page too. So by the end time someone reads the whole page, they're like, hey man, I'm not sure which one to pick, but I keep that one feels right because I'm exposed to it more. And I explain it more in depth in the book, but you can do that with the names and the images. What else can I say? What else? Oops, sorry about that. Yeah, another thing you can do, let me talk about this. Another quick win just for copywriting is you can actually use like we and us. Mm-hmm. So as you're writing, you can say things like, people like us would rather have something like this, or, when we are looking for this. So basically you're aligning yourself with the reader. That's another trick that you can use while you're writing. And let me just mention one last one, which is everybody should be doing this if you're creating buying guides, which most people are not doing, which I think is crazy. You do this thing called cross-selling, which is when you're promoting a product on your page, try to find something that you can also link to that they have to buy with that product. So for example, let's say you're rating and reviewing printers. Mm-hmm. Well, every printer needs ink, right? Mm-hmm. So you can say, hey, this is the best printer for, a home office. But by the way, if you need ink, here's the link to the ink. So now I don't have to go as a user. I'm like, oh, I'm going to buy the printer and I'm going to buy the ink. And I just got a simple additional commission. And so that's better than just making the person just have to go hunt for it. So that's something I've been doing with like most of my pages, is just adding this one line sentence like, hey, do you need, anything? I just try to find something to give an accessory through that.
So that's a really good trick. Yeah. So you mentioned you're seeing what, 5 to 10% extra commissions doing that, or?
Yeah, on average. I mean, you're going to see just a quick, and easy, just depending on how much traffic you get. But yeah, I'm seeing stuff like that.
It depends on the product too, and stuff like that.
Yeah, clearly. So like, let me think of something like, I don't know, if you're selling, gosh, I'm trying to think. If you're selling, some type of phone or something, mm-hmm. You're reviewing phones, like throw in earphones along with that. Like, oh, these match perfectly, or these are the best Bluetooth earphones for this iPhone XYZ, whatever. Just throw things in there. I saw another one recently. It was skateboards, right? So the skateboard came with like 52 millimeter wheels, and like in the description you could say, hey, you can also pick up a pair of 48 millimeter wheels that'll help you go faster. Some people might click it, some might not, but it's just an easy way to get hopefully another sale.
Yeah. I actually have an outdoor website, and I talk about hiking boots sometimes, and I talk about like waterproof stuff you can put over your shoes to make them more waterproof.
Yeah, 100%, man. Yeah, and people, they don't know about it unless you tell them. So it's like, oh, if I'm going to buy these boots, I want to protect them. Yeah, I need to get some waterproofer. Yeah, just add it. It's extra $10, and they just throw it on the cart.
And, just in case, they buy it anyways, like, so because they don't know if they need it or not. So they might just end up buying it.
Yeah, and I discovered this because I looked at my sales data and for certain sites, and I was like, man, people are buying these certain accessories. I don't even promote them. And so it got me thinking like, well, let me just add them on the page. Like, yeah.
So you can look at your existing orders and see what common products are going with other products to promote. So that's a good trick too. So, we talked about best of guides and things like that. Like, do you offer any templates in your book as well?
Yeah. So the book, the tips in the book can apply to all types of sites, but in the very end, in section 2, I actually give a template on how I structure my affiliate buying guides, where you're trying to rank for like best XYZ keyword. So like best lawnmower or best headphones for working out. And so I give you the template of the page, and there's two of them, because it just depends on, which one's better for that market. But it actually shows you, here's the H2s, here's the H3s, here's the layout, here's the comparison table, here's how you should do it. Literally my blueprint that I copy for all my sites and all my pages have just been given to you in that section of the book.
So this is a template that's already been tested to increase conversions that people can get when they buy your book.
Yeah, 100%. So there's no additional charge. I mean, it's just, here's what I do and here's how I do it. And I also give away the places and where you should put the keywords. So if you're targeting
Oh,
best lawnmower, I'm going to say, hey, put the
that's
keyword
right.
in these specific spots. You know, some people may disagree with it and say, oh, that's too much or that's too little. You're not doing it right. But I've done that for years and I'm always ranking, I don't worry about keyword density. I don't worry about any of that other stuff. I just put them in the certain spots and it's been working like a charm. So, and who knows? I mean, maybe one day Google will change things, but for
Yeah,
the last 10 plus years, it's been working. So,
very good. So if people want to buy your book, how can they get it?
yeah. So right now, the book is on Amazon. So you can go to Amazon, type in affiliate content secrets, and it'll come up. So yeah, I highly encourage people to check it out if you want to learn how to boost your earnings through affiliate marketing. Because I mean, I don't think there's any other book out there that has this type of information. I looked for it because I didn't want to duplicate something already going on in the market. But yeah, these are proven tips and tricks that I've used to basically boost my business to make it a full-time living through affiliate marketing.
Good. And that's the paperback. Do you also offer Kindle or ebook as well?
Yes, yeah. So it's available as paperback or Kindle. Some people ask me if there's an audio version. Once there's enough buzz for it, I think maybe I'll eventually do that. I'll probably get outsourced to do that because that'd be just another way to promote it.
Thank you, Stephen. I've actually read your book, and I can vouch that it's worth a buy. So those who are listening should go buy it. So
Awesome.
thank you very much, Stephen.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. That was great.
Bye.